Hello, hello, welcome back. Today it's all about designing your own stuff, making magic items, and we've been working our way through various things. I'm assuming that this is the one that a lot of people were really hoping for. Magic weapons, of course. Magic weapons. Quite a common thing that game masters actually get involved in making. So we're going to go through this process very shortly. I've got a poll. I'm going to put up the poll. Feel free to take part in that poll. Grab some food, some drink, make sure you're comfortable, and we're going to crank through this, try to get this done as fast as we can. There's a lot to do, and we have about 2 hours to get that job done. Okay, so yeah, settle back. Hopefully you're comfortable and you've got your food ready, and let's smash into this. Hi, welcome to HowtoRPG. My name is Fred Weller, and I talk about how to play or make stuff for tabletop role-playing games. And today we're going to be looking at designing or creating or making magic weapons. That might be a sword, it might be a bow, it might be a throwing star, it could be anything, it could be an axe. And so what I want to do is I want to focus very much on the sorts of things you can make and include in your game that you can use without having to worry too much. Probably the biggest problem for a lot of game masters is the magic weapon. And it's not because the magic weapon is the most powerful magic item you can make, because they aren't. It's because they're usually the first things they make. You might say, well, actually potions and scrolls are probably the first thing that game masters make. No, I think it's almost primarily magic weapons, because players usually apply a lot of pressure onto a game master or a dungeon master to make them. And so they wind up feeling like they have to make those things first. So let's see if we can make a whole bunch of magic weapons that you can incorporate into your game and not feel like it's going to crush your game. Players will always want more, but before we get into that, I have already sort of started. I started with one. I've got a bunch of ideas, very small ideas, things you should be able to include without too much trouble. And yeah, we're going to work through that and try to build that out. I want to sort of aim for about 20 magic items. We'll see how we go. So let's just go here and like. So what are your magic weapon ideas? And I'm trying to aim for things that you can include into your game without making it, making a really powerful magic weapon. That is not hard to do. So things that are common or simple or low powered. Low power. How do we do that? That's much harder to do. Okay. Now the magic weapon still needs to be something that is better than just a mundane piece of equipment. Otherwise, why would you create it? That would make no sense. Okay, so let's put that in there. Hello, Fred Huber. I can see you've already included a dagger of digging. It can be transformed to a shovel so you can dig a hole. Yeah, you should have guessed. This is the usual. It's the usual thing. Okay, so let me share the document that I have, and we'll work our way through. I've got a bunch of ideas, and so that should help us fill out our repertoire of magic weapons. God. Here we go. So this is what I have to begin with. One of the very first things that I ever made as a magic weapon back when 5e was out and I wasn't running Adventurers League and I could sort of make and modify things in a public game, is I included a transforming weapon. And it's very, very simple. It's basically any kind of weapon. You can decide what its original form is, but while wielding the weapon, it can change its form. You just use a free action. I don't like making it a bonus action. If you're playing 5e, it'll matter maybe, but just make it a free action. If you're playing other versions of D&D or whatever, just make it a non transforming it back and forth is not a big issue. Just don't worry about that sort of thing. You're gonna make life difficult for yourself. Now, would this interact really badly with something like, I guess, 2024 D&D? Probably. But then the rules for that game are kind of all over the place anyway, so I don't think it's going to matter too much. So it transforms into a melee weapon or a ranged weapon, and you decide what it is. So you can select what it might be. Okay, so and I think that's a common magic item. I don't think we need to look at that as being something, because it's not giving you a +1 to attack or damage. It is just able to transform into a different weapon, and ultimately it's treated as a magical weapon, okay, but it doesn't actually do anything else other than it transforms. So it's essentially, in many respects, more mundane than it is magical. But there are certain things that, if you want to get past damage immunities, you need to have a magical source, and this is a magical source. So I suppose you could say, well, that means it's magical. Well, yeah, but it's still common. These don't matter. If you're playing Shadow Dark, you won't care in the slightest, because it means nothing to you whatsoever. If you're playing 5e or 2024, if you're playing Pathfinder, you won't care in the slightest. If you're playing older versions of D&D, it certainly won't matter at all. So, yeah. Let's create the Dagger of Digging. Okay. So we just need to go down here, and we can use most of this that I've already created for that without too much trouble. So we'll do that. It is a weapon. It's not any, it is a dagger. And I can't remember if we need to spell out some magic weapons. It stipulates what it is. But I mean, most of the time, it doesn't really matter too much, does it? Ammunition of slaying, legacy, arrows of slaying. Is it marked as an arrow? It is okay, so they do use a thing. So we just probably need to just mark it as being an arrow as such. Okay. So it'll be a dagger. Something small. Okay, cool. While wielding this weapon, you can wielding this dagger, you can change its form as a free action into a shovel. Okay. Do we need to do anything else with it? Because really, now you don't have to carry a shovel. I guess one of the things that people get into is like, okay, but if I have a dagger, but I also want to take a shovel with me because I feel like the shovel might be useful at some point, you start running out of space. So I suppose you could say this is going to circumvent this. I would like to do a little bit more with this without turning it into something that is uncommon. I would like to keep it fairly low powered. But there we go. There's the first one. So he's made one. I will come up with one as well. And probably the most common thing that I can think of that in the fiction, in fantasy fiction, is the glowing weapon, right? And really it's kind of like it's a cantrip ability like light. So let's create a weapon that is more in line with that. So copy. Let's go here. And we might just call it Weapon of Warning. The Sword of Warning, Weapon of Warning, any. So while wielding this weapon, it glows with any colored, any light color you select when so we want a range or distance when when a, let's say, goblin or orc is within 120 feet. Have I structured this correctly? Again, this I don't think is something we need to worry too much about. It is not going to give you the exact position of them, but it will warn you that they are close by, which is 120 feet. It's close enough. Okay, while we're wielding this weapon, it glows with any light color you select when a goblin or orc is within 120 feet. Okay, I think we got that. Let me know if I've written that in a way that doesn't make sense or needs to be modified. And let's go back to chat and see what you've cooked up, and then I'll come back and I'll do another one. Okay, what do you got here? Make your dagger into a shovel to get past the guards who don't let weapons. Oh, I see. I see. A small shock on a hit, save versus spell, or disadvantage of action. Okay, a taser sword. Yeah, we could probably do a taser sword. So let's just. I don't think we're going to change too much with a taser sword. So I will take that, drop that down. Have I got everything there that I need? Oh, no. Okay. All right, let's go back and I'll show you what I'm doing so you can see. Oh. Taser sword, taser sword. Okay, so let's go down. We need to put in this. Yep. We don't need to do very much with this. That's probably fine. Paste. Paste. So that's that. It is a sword. While wielding this sword, okay, while wielding this sword, let's see, what are we doing here? Sword. It does. Now let's while wielding the sword, it does lightning or electrical damage rather than slashing damage. Oopsies. Don't worry about a save. Spell versus. I think we get rid of all of that. And he's got disadvantage on to the victim's next action. So I think what we can do is, if you hit with your weapon, the magical effect is going to take place. This is one of the things that monsters in 5e do, and I think most systems probably should not have a 2-dice system involved. If you're going to roll to hit, then just let the roll to hit work. If you're dealing with a saving throw, then just use a saving throw, don't use an attack roll. Okay, it's a really inefficient way to design anything, because what it does is ensure that it doesn't work. So you don't want that, whether it's for a monster or for a player. So if we're going to apply disadvantage, we just We just need to apply disadvantage if you hit. Well, wielding the sword, it does lightning damage. Okay, well, wielding this sword, it does lightning or electrical damage. When it hits, rather than slashing damage. That's all it needs to be. That's nice and simple. That's very simple. It's still got it's still a magical weapon. And instead of doing the slashing damage, it's going to do lightning or electrical. So that's fine. Now, if you want to have an extra effect, which is really the equivalent of shocking grasp in 5e. So if we go over here, where is it? Shocking grasp. All right, let's keep going. Have I got the right screen up? Yes, I do. Thank God for that. Shocking grasp. Here we go. So there's the legacy one. There's the non-legacy one. Let's not worry about the armor. Wearing armor. You have advantage on attack rolls if the target is wearing armor. Let's forget about that. Don't worry about that. Let's just do the disadvantage thing. Now, hang on, now that I think about it, if we apply disadvantage, it now enters into the, because we determined that if you were dealing with 5e or 2024, anything with advantage or disadvantage really becomes an uncommon magic item. So if I leave that off, even though that was your intention behind that, Fred Huber. Fred Huber is a patron and a moderator, by the way. Then I can keep it within the common range as a much lower level magic item. And you could add that effect if you wanted yourself as a customization or homebrew. So let's leave that off. Let's just leave that alone, because that actually just shifts everything a bit too far. So yeah, okay, all right. Let's just not do that. That's all it needs to be. Okay, cool. All right. So I guess it must be my turn to come up with something. We've got the light activating thing that's lights up when there's goblins and orcs nearby, which is really not going to mean very much, because if your dungeon has got goblins and orcs in it and it's about 120 feet, and what does that mean? You now have light. You notice that I haven't stipulated that it gives off enough light to be used as a light source. It just glows a particular color. That's it. So it's not really a huge benefit in terms of a light source. It's not a glowing sword. Okay, we could do a glowing sword. We could make something that's specifically a glowing sword. Let's do that. Mating weapon. Oops, let's go there. Down, down, down. And now, copy. Get it out of the way. Might as well. Paste. I'm wondering about whether, because it's warning against, well, is it really going to matter? Because it doesn't give you any specific directions. I don't think it's going to matter that much, honestly. 120 feet. What does that mean? Not a lot. Not really. Okay, cool. We'll leave it alone. Weapon, any illuminating weapon. Bolt. Obviously, illuminating weapon is not something you would include in Shadow Dark unless there's a timer of some kind. Shadow Dark does not work well if you start messing with light too much. But if you were playing 5e, you could probably get away with doing this. So while wielding this this weapon, it can be commanded to give off any to give off light color you choose Now let's go into spells back here, and we just need to find light and then make a few adjustments to how it is presented, and that should be fine. Okay. Lit is, now it can be magical, so we can eliminate this dim light and other nonsense going on here. Okay, let's go here, take that, we'll drop this into here, paste. Okay, while wielding the sword, it can be commanded to give off light of a color you choose. Let's just make it a free action to give off light of a color you choose. And it's really not a big issue, because I mean, ultimately, if you're going to use it as a light source, you're probably not going to be doing it in the middle of combat. So I don't think it needs to be an action. Light from the weapon. The light from the weapon is bright. Is bright to a distance of let's just go with 60 feet. Right, 40 feet, 60 feet. Yeah, let's go 60 feet. And then stops. That's it. That's all I need. Was there a better way to word this? Let's have a look here. See if I can do that. While wielding this weapon, it can be commanded as a free action to give off light of a color you choose. The light from the weapon is bright to a distance of 60 feet and then stops. There we go. End of story. Better than dark vision because it's bright. So, 5e differentiates that. 2024 still differentiates that. If you're playing other games, it probably won't matter too much. You can see where you're going. Up to 60 feet. That's good enough. Okay, cool. Right, let's go back to our chat, see what is cooking in there, see if anybody else has got any ideas and work on them. Oh, Fred Huber's got a lot of ideas today. Okay. Purposely not, no adding damage. Yeah, no, it doesn't add damage. All it does is change the damage type. So the taser sword is intended to simply change the damage type. That doesn't mean very much if you're playing Shadow Dark. Doing lightning damage or electrical damage doesn't really make much difference at all. But having a magical weapon still again gets past damage immunity to things that require you to have a magical source. So that's still a benefit. It's a very small benefit, but it's still there. If you're at 5e, damage type does matter. So being able to change your damage type to slashing, from slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing to lightning would be beneficial. So there we go. First magic item my PC's ever got was a sword. I am against ethereal. Can't get drunk while the sword is in your possession. We have so many magic items that are kind of like that right now that we've been making. I don't want to do a sword that does that. But anyway. Speaking weapon, it tells bad jokes. I like that idea a lot. We should do something like that. That's a very narrative. That's a very sort of, fluff. How can an elf? How can an elf? What do we mean? How can an elf? It just drops down. How can an elf drink and contest? I don't understand what we're talking about here, Fred Huber. I'm going to take your telling bad jokes idea. it's obviously a sentient weapon. If they start talking, it's definitely sentient, right? So let's go back and see if we can't make a weapon that tells bad jokes. And then I'll do something else myself. Okay, here we go. The problem of sentient weapons sort of suggest that they are significantly more powerful. They're an artifact. If it's starting to tell bad jokes, it's probably got a lot more power. And so I'm tempted to make this, but it's definitely not common. So I won't make it. I'm going to put it down. I'll probably do that off screen, maybe. We'll see. At the end of the week, I might make it off screen. It's a cool idea. I like the idea, but it's not a common magic item because it's sentient. Sentient usually means that there's a lot more going on. So let's work our way through some different ideas. So I had prepared a couple of things that I've already made before, and I wanted to include a couple more because I think it's fun to make magic weapons where there isn't a +1 or +1 to damage or +1 to attack, where they have some sort of feature that is very specialized to them for a particular reason, because being able to have a magical source in any fantasy game is really useful. So we can fiddle around and do all sorts of crazy things, and it should be fine. So that's what I thought I would do. So let's start off with another one, and a really common one is the sword, a weapon of gleaming. I don't think there is a weapon of gleaming. So there's a table in the 2014 Dungeon Master Guide for 5e, and it has a table on it on page 143. So you could go through and use that to make little minor things that you can put into your weapons in terms of being magical in some way. Okay? Copy and paste. All right, so let's call it the gleaming weapon. So it could be gleaming axe, could be gleaming sword, could be whatever you want to do it. Any kind of weapon. While wielding this weapon, it never gets dirty or rusts. Now I want to do something here where we're giving them a little bit more, because there are some creatures that can potentially damage magical weapons. So, and that's by rusting them or corroding them. Okay, so let's go here. While wielding this weapon, it never gets dirty or rusts from natural or magical sources. There we go. There we have a gleaming weapon. That was very, very easy to do. Not hard at all. Sort of thing that you could do without too much trouble. You probably really wouldn't need me at all to figure that one out. So that's another one. I made a compass weapon. And one of the things I've discovered is that players that get a weapon that is a compass, although it is very tempting, a weapon that always points north. The problem is, unless your game or campaign is very much focused on going in the right direction and potentially getting lost, players generally consider it the shittiest feature you could give them, even though they have a magical weapon. Being not getting dirty and not rusting, yeah. Giving off light, they'll live with that. The fact that you can change the damage type, they can live with that. The fact that it could warn you of something that's coming, they can generally live with that. I might just go here and highlight it in yellow just in case. I might change my mind. Transforming, that they find useful. But if you start doing things around, it tells you which way is north, I don't recommend doing it. I've done it a couple of times. It's not gone well in any case. Now, that doesn't mean just because I did it a couple of times that it won't work for you, but I don't think it's necessarily the best option. If you're going to do that, make sure your campaign or the game you're running is very much dependent on the potential to get lost, which means you probably don't have rangers in your campaign. You don't have somebody who's an expert in not getting lost. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what else we can fill around here with and do. Beacon. No, we've done something that's already basically an illuminating blade. No, we won't do that. That's contemptuous. Delver. No. Guardian. Guardian. Do I want to do that? No, because the problem with giving a weapon a +1 bonus to initiative, or even a +2 bonus, it would definitely make it an uncommon weapon. And it does feel like it is a sentient weapon as well. I think what I'll do is, I'll put here, Guardian weapon warns the wielder of danger +1 to initiative rolls. But I'm not going to work on it. I'm just going to type that in as a, maybe I'll do that later, because that's really, again, sentient means it's probably a lot more powerful than it appears. Tuning and summary makes a minute. No, harmonious. Hidden message. A key. A weapon that is a key is a fun idea. I don't know that I want to make it a sword though. Why don't we just make it a dagger? Because everybody is wanting to shove their dagger somewhere, right? And they think it's going to be a lock. Shoving your dagger into a lock does not open a lock. Okay? You break off the tip of your dagger, usually. So let's take the dagger thing and go down, down, down. And paste. So, weapon, yes. While wielding this dagger, you can unlock I think this is actually going to wind up being quite a powerful item, because it's really essentially knock, isn't it? The knock spell, I think it's level 2. Knock spell 5e. Yeah, it's level 2, so it would be uncommon. I guess the only thing that I can think of that maybe this is maybe the best way we can look at this and how we use it is advantage would still be uncommon. Just opening the lock would still be uncommon. A +1 would still be uncommon. What we could do though is we could change the nature of the dagger to something else so that you could use it as if you had lock-picking tools. And that we could keep as common then. There we go. While wielding this dagger, you can touch it to a lock and attempt to open it as if you had lock picking tools. So we don't want to call it dagger of digging, because there we've got the dagger of digging. That's just copied that bit there. So we what do we want to call it though? Lock picking dagger. What else? Thieves tools. Dagger pick. Dagger something else. Dagger something. We need a name for this thing. Come up with a reasonable name for it. Okay. Back to chat. Let's see what you guys have cooked up. We've got some more stuff here. So, speaking weapon, telling jokes. It's not very intelligent. It just knows a few jokes. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but again, I think it still falls into being an intelligent weapon. How useful is that? Probably not that useful. I'm not saying I won't make it, but yeah. Okay, so what do we got here? Shy X, hello, how are you? Fusion sword, form from two blades, two forms, great sword or a long sword and dagger. I see. So basically it's a sword that you can break apart. I see that the problem here is now you have two magic weapons. That is the only problem I see with making a fusion sword. That is two blades that you can break apart. Because then what you would do, right, players are going to do this almost immediately, which is why you probably shouldn't make this, is a fusion sword where you can break the two blades apart. Whether it's a short sword or a dagger, you can now, one person can have the short sword and somebody else can have the dagger. It is no longer even if you don't give it a +1 or +2 or +3 to it, you've essentially created two magic items from one. And that is actually significantly stronger. Is it a cool idea? Yes, but was it a common aspect? No. Whack locked to unlock it. Yeah, let's change. Yeah. We could transform the weapon into a hammer. It doesn't have to be a dagger. That seems more reasonable. Whack a lock to unlock it, like the knock spell. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's change that around a little bit. The gleaming weapon, AK Rust Monster's Bane. Yes, absolutely. So the gleaming weapon would protect you from dealing with a rust monster that might rust your weapon. It won't stop a black pudding corroding it, but it will at least deal with the rust monster. Yeah. Dagger of Thieves. Hello. Nanakania. Nankenia. Dagger of Thieves. Yeah. Yeah, it could be Dagger of Thieves is not too bad. Oh, Dagger of Thieves. It's not a bad name at all. I'm just wondering, do we want it to be a dagger or do we want it to be a hammer? Why don't we make both? Dagger of Thieves. I'll do that. So we'll have two versions. I think that's fine. We can do that. Broomstick looks like a normal stick. Can be used to make ranged attacks. Generates its own ammunition. Your choice. I am completely lost as to where we're going with this. That is rune weapon. Considered magical with forgotten magical minor magic. Rune weapon. Okay. All right. Fusion. Yeah, I can't make that fusion sword. It's just it's essentially 2 magic items. It's probably not something we should do. But the hammer of lockpicking. Let's have our dagger of thieves and then the hammer of lockpicking as well. Call it lock knocker. Oh, that's not bad. The lock knocker. That's pretty good, actually. I like that. Lock knocker. Lock knocker. Okay. Okay, so that's a lock knocker. That's funny. Sorry. Here we go. Let's try and make that a dagger version and a hammer version, and you guys can decide what you want to do with it after that. So copy, paste. Oh, you can touch, you can jam it into a lock. You can jam it into a lock and attempt to open it as if you had lock picking tools. Okay. Let's do this. Bold. Have I got this in the right place? Yes, you can see what I'm doing. Hammer. Make this a hammer. Let's make it a war hammer. Hammer. You can hit a lock and attempt to open it as if you had lock picking tools. So essentially the same wording, but a different sort of flavor to it. There you go. We cut 2 weapons out of 1. I don't know which one you prefer, but pick the one you do. It's not too bad. We're getting along here nicely, aren't we? So we're doing quite well, actually. Next, hidden messages. Do I want to put a hidden message on the sword or the weapon? I'm not sure how I would go about doing that. It would have to be very much keyed to your campaign. It would have to be around your campaign and the adventure or the story that is being told, or the background of whatever's going on. I don't think that's very easy to make in a live stream. You'd have to do that specifically yourself. So I can't do an example of that, I don't think. Language. The bearer can speak and understand a language of the DM's choice. No. Let's do a... I'm not against the idea of having a weapon that allows you to talk to a certain type of creature. So let's make a weapon that can do that, because really that's tongues, isn't it? And tongues is a lot stronger as a spell than what we're about to try to do. I'm pretty sure. Tongues. Tongues. And it's a higher level spell too, isn't it? But here we go. 3rd level, so it would be essentially, I believe, uncommon in its nature if we're dealing with 5e. For anything else, it doesn't really matter in the slightest. But the spell grants the creature you touch the ability to understand any spoken language. Well, we're not going to give them any spoken language. We're going to restrict it a bit more so we can keep it in the common range. So let's give us a choice of creatures. So let's take this idea, go over here, paste that, and I don't think it really matters what sort of weapon it is, so let's just go say weapon. It needs to be called something interesting. So let's come up with a solution for that. It's not going to be called that. What's the weapon going to be called? I don't know. You guys will come up with something in the chat while I am writing it up. How's that sound? Okay. I go here. Bold. To weapon, any kind of weapon. While wielding this weapon, you understand and speak. So while wielding this weapon, you understand and speak one language. That you now. No, I don't want you to select it. I want the I guess an example of how this would work, like if it was a sword of demons, or the axe of devils, or it's going to it needs to have some sort of name change. So Sword of Monsters. Let's just call it the Sword of Monsters. I'm not sure what else to call it right now. If you guys come up with a better name, let me know. Okay. While wielding this weapon, you can understand and speak one language. One language that the dungeon master assigns to the weapon based off its origin. I think that's pretty much all I needed to write in there. On its origin. So you still get the ability to have a magical source with your weapon. You don't get a +1 or a +2 or a +3 to attack or damage. It allows you to speak and understand one language, the Dungeon Master. So how this would work is if it was called the Weapon of Celestials, or the Sword of Celestials, then while wielding this weapon you would understand Celestial. That would probably be what the Dungeon Master would assign to it. I don't know how to write this so that it is clear, but I think you get the gist from what I've written there. I don't feel like that is overpowered. Comprehend languages allows you to speak to read any language. This is only giving you one. I think this is a small enough effect, and it's related to the creature, hopefully, that you'll name. Bracket. Monster type. Okay. So it might be something like the, I don't know, the scimitar of undead. And you would be able to speak to the undead. Or maybe it's something like the, what's another one? Let's go with, say, well, that's very, very specific. Something else. Sword of Dragons. You would understand Draconic and be able to speak to dragons. I think that's really what we're trying to aim for. Okay, let's go back to the chat and see what else you guys have cooked up. I've done one that is kind of around that concept of language. Oh, here we go. We've got a whole lot of ideas percolating in here. Magical when forgotten. Magic. Okay, so what is that magical effect? So Shy X, heavy weapons gains heavy property. Okay. Scoped crossbow. Doubles normal range, can be used to magnify and see further. So what this is actually a very good idea, Shy X. I actually think a scoped crossbow is a brilliant idea. Why not do that? Because extending range is not as bad as it sounds. And I think it can still stick within or stay within being, a fairly low-level magical item or weapon. So we can do that, and it wouldn't cause too much trouble. That's my next favourite thing to do. Wonderful. What else do we have here? Heavy gains the heavy property, heavy weapons, silenced bow. Missed attacks do not break hidden condition nor reveal their location. So Shy X says, I get what you're trying to do with this. This is obviously based off 5e because 5e works like this, where you can get into a battle. You might be able to hide before the battle to get surprise on somebody because they don't know you're there. And then in the middle of battle, you can walk behind a tree or a rock or a wall and then get the hidden condition or be hit or hide so that you can then get another benefit as if they don't know you're there, which I've always considered in 5e to be a bullshit mechanic. I've explained it. I know how it works. I am not keen on making a magic item that works that way. So for me, I think it's garbage as an idea because of it would be fine if it was working at the very beginning of the battle, but being able to then, not break your hidden condition, I don't know that is such a smart idea. Because I don't want it to be used in that way. Just because you don't hear a bow does not make that much noise when you fire it anyway. Do you know what I mean? It is not like it's the noisiest thing under the sun. It's not like firing a gun. So a silenced bow, whether it's a long bow, a short bow, or a crossbow, maybe it's going to make a little bit of noise. But I just don't know that it makes an awful lot of sense. So we're going to leave that alone. Rosetta weapon for the languages to... And Rosetta? I like the word Rosetta. I'm just wondering if... Is Rosetta... is like the Rosetta Stone, isn't it? I think that's where you're getting the idea, Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone is a fragment of ancient Egyptians, yes, and containing the same text in 3 scripts, hieroglyphics, which allow scholars to decipher hieroglyphics and understand ancient. I see where you're going with this. Oh, no, yeah. I think Rosetta is probably a better name than the one that I had given. Yeah, let's do the Rosetta. Let's do Rosetta. Good idea. Let's do that. Rosetta weapon. Rosetta sword, Rosetta axe, Rosetta... Okay, yeah. And there we go. I think we've got that one sorted out. Rosetta weapon. The scoped crossbow's got to be the next thing to do. Gilded weapon. Gild trims costs more. Oh dear, it's funny. Okay, let's take your scoped crossbow, because I actually like the scoped crossbow. Extending range is a good idea, because it really is not the end of the world if we do that, and we can do that and not, wreck what we're trying to do, which is make low-level magic items. How many have I done so far? A few, not a huge number, but it's a few there. And I've got a few other ideas. Okay, scoped crossbow. Do we want to call it scoped crossbow, or do we want to call it something else? I mean, it's obviously going to be a crossbow, because it's crossbow, which is fine. Do we want to call it scoped crossbow? Scoped. Let's see, here we go. Paste. Okay. It's not any, it's crossbow. Cool. Done. Nice and specific. Bold it. Okay, while wielding this crossbow, wielding this crossbow, this crossbow, this crossbow has double the normal range when fired. Okay. Can be used to... Let's see if okay, so there's another aspect to this that you've got here. You're doubling the range, but you're also allowing them to see further. I don't know if I want to... How do we do this? Do I need to specify anything more? This crossbow has double the normal range when fired. If we were getting really granular and dealing with people who are like going to read into this, okay, so if I double my range, does that mean I can see further than normal? Well, no, because even though it's scoped, that just allows you to fire with more accuracy with a crossbow. The distance you can probably see is probably better. Which is probably why we should not call it a scoped crossbow. If we get rid of that, then we can double the range and we don't have a problem. But I can't call it scoped. So we've got to do something else. It's basically the crossbow of William Tell, isn't it? How we go? William Tell. Is that right? William Tell. I don't want to say telescopic. The apple, the resistance, revolt, play, opera, historical. Crossbow of accuracy is probably the easiest way to get around this. I don't like using too many words, but crossbow of accuracy would just solve a lot of the problems that I can see coming from this. I know there's going to be the argument that, oh, if it's accurate, it must mean it has a +1 to it. And I know this is going to be another thing that they're going to say, but it doesn't. It just allows you to shoot further. So we will go with that. Crossbow of accuracy. Okay, that solved that problem. Wonderful. Well, certainly I hope so. There's always somebody who's going to find some minutia in your magic weapons, by the way, and try to break it and use it in a way that is not intended. No matter how well you word your magic items, there's always somebody who finds a way of exploiting the use of the word or the lack of a use of a word. And we wind up with a legal document. Next. Sentinel. Choose a kind of creature that is an enemy of the item's creator. The enemy glows faintly. Okay, we've done that already. Done that already. Songcraft. When using this item is struck or is used as a fire, here's a fragment of an ancient song. Oh, that is a weird thing to do. Does anybody remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit? And there's a sword that he pulls out, I think, that starts singing like Fred Astaire. Is it Fred Astaire? Or Sinatra? I think it's Sinatra. I think it is Sinatra. It is really funny. So I think we should do that. Oh, and there's another thing that we should make. It's a glass sword. I had forgotten about the glass sword. We'll come back to you. You guys are going to crack up when you hear this. But anyway, next. Let's go with the singing sword. I think it needs to be a singing sword. So let's do the singing sword. We're going to go here. Let's go like that. Copy. Let's go down. Have I got this in the right place? Yes, I have. Singing sword. Here we go. It's not that. It's a sword. I feel like it's singing sword just because the alliteration is the fun bit. Next, while wielding this. When you hit a creature or object with this sword, it sings. I want to go somewhere kind of odd with this. It sings a ballad of victory. Sorry. Ballad of victory. Yes. It's all flavor. Well, it's not all flavor because, again, if you make a magic weapon, whether it's got a +1, +2, and it doesn't have +1, +2, +3, it is still getting past damage immunity to something that has immunity to things that aren't magical. So there is still a benefit. So it's not a useless item, but it is funny as hell. Let's do that. Okay, next. Let's do another one. Now, the glass sword is a weapon that I have created in the past because I am the sort of person who likes the idea. The glass sword was a response to my players insisting on wanting to buy magic weapons at a shop. Okay, for those of you who don't know, when I was running 5e in the early days and playing in public games, there was this Why isn't there no magic shops? There's got to be a magic shop here. This sucks. You suck. And I'm like, okay, all right, fine. All right, back off. So I made the glass sword and I put them on discount in a shop and they break. Oh dear. So here we go. Sword. While wielding this weapon, the sword. It needs to make a sound like its glass is hitting something. While wielding the sword, it makes a it makes the sound of breaking glass when it hits something. Okay, here we go. While wielding the sword, it makes the sound of breaking glass when it hits something. If a natural one is rolled on a d20 dice to make the attack, the sword shatters. Yeah, there is an element of me being a cunt here, for sure. But my players were being far worse. So I'm going to put this in here. I consider this a common item, a very simple magic item. You know, it's not giving you a +1 or +2 or +3. It's still just magical. It makes a sound which is of breaking glass. And it will literally, at some point, they will roll a 1 and the sword will shatter. So it's got a limited lifespan. So yeah, should prove to be very entertaining for those of you who need a bit of entertainment. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the chat and see what you guys have cooked up. The glass sword, almost forgot the glass sword. Can't miss that one. No. Anyway, next. Everybody's left the chat. Ah, dear. All right, so guild trim coats, sniper's crossbow. Actually, that's not it. Sniper's crossbow is probably a better name. I like sniper's crossbow. Yeah, the name that I gave it kind of sucks. Let's just put sniper's crossbow. Sniper's crossbow. There we go. Much better name. All right, so what's the next thing on our list here? Note that we rarely have encounters that would challenge the range of a crossbow. That is very true. It's very, very, very true. Gilded weapon. Gold trims cost more. Gilded weapon. I'm not too sure what to do with that. I'm going to have to start working on some of the other ideas that you guys have put forward. So we might wind up having to do some stuff that isn't common. Singing swords always sing about cutting meat. There. Note that we rarely have encounters yet. Yes, there's an Assassin's Guild in a book series that uses glass knives that are hollow and filled with poison. On hit, they break and the poison the victim. And it's a one-use weapon, basically, isn't it? That's not a bad idea. I like the idea a lot, actually. I might just make a note of how that might work. I'm not too exactly sure how I want that to work, but we could do something like that. That wouldn't be a silly idea at all. It's very different, I guess. I mean, I guess it's the venom blade that always has venom on it, but the venom blade always works. Like, it doesn't not work. There is always you can reuse it over and over again. Yeah, okay. I'll think about that a little bit more. We'll keep going. How much time have I got? Oh, I've got plenty of time. So we can keep working our way through our little list here and see how much we can get done. The time frame we have. So I'll put this down. Cool. Let's keep moving. Back to our page. And I'm going to work on a couple of the... Am I working on a couple of the other ideas you had presented? I think there was the Guardian weapon, +1 to initiative rolls, which would be uncommon if we do that. The speaking weapon that tells bad jokes is going to have to be something else because, again, I feel like it's sentient. Okay, so what are we doing here? What else can we make that's really low-powered and would be entertaining and interesting for Game Master, Dungeon Master, and players? Okay. Let's make a weapon that can't be destroyed. This is one of the things that 5e has removed completely. 2025 has decided that players despise the idea of anything that could possibly destroy their weapon. It's magical. We could make a weapon that is just super durable and can't be broken or destroyed. I think that's maybe the next one. Unbreakable. Could be anything. Let's go and pull this from here. Copy. Paste. Okay. Any weapon. Well, we'll in this way. This weapon can't be broken or destroyed. No plus, just that. This is the sort of thing that players in older versions of the game will love, because being able to have a weapon that can't be lost is always very nice. There's also another type of weapon that is pretty popular, and that is, when you throw like a hand axe or a dagger, and it's nice if it comes back to you so you can throw it again. I did this a long time ago. It's kind of based off the Thor's hammer of returning, or the returning hammer. So another way that you can hammer of returning. We could just call it the weapon of returning. Weapon of returning. You can already guess how this is going to work, right? So let's take this. Paste. Okay. Now, let's see. How can we structure this in such a way that it covers not too much, but just enough? Okay, while wielding this weapon, you can throw it and it will return to your hand moments later. If you drop or lose the weapon, it returns to your hand one round later. About 6 seconds. I think that's kind of what we were trying to do here. So this is the weapon where, you have a magical weapon and you don't want to lose the magical weapon, either because you dropped it off a cliff by accident, or it fell into, I don't know, a pool of water, or whatever might happen. You throwing the weapon and not being able to use it again is always a sucky thing. But if it was a throwing axe of returning, then you could throw the axe and then it would return to your hand. You can throw it again if you've got more than one attack. So that's kind of where they were going here. Javelin, a spear, dagger of returning. So you could do a few different things with this and make it a bit more useful. And I think this is something I've done a few times, and it is a very popular feature to include. And it's not really that strong. Do you know what I mean? It just means you don't wind up losing the magic weapon for just a collection of silly reasons. And it's very, very specific. And it doesn't have a +1, +2, +3. And it's still really common. So, if you're ever thinking, oh, it's really hard to make common magic items that are low powered, no, you can do it. It can be done. There's a lot of ideas here that kind of fall into that bracket. Not being broken or destroyed, maybe it's not common. Maybe that is something else that's quite a lot stronger. We'll mark that for now. But okay, next. Let's go back to the chat before I work my way through the list and start working on those ideas again. What have we got here? La da 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 da. Hello, here we go. Shy X has got some new ideas. Weaponized instruments doubles as an instrument. This is really quite an interesting idea. I like this. We kind of did that with musical instruments before, didn't we? When we were doing magical musical instruments, we weaponized some of them so that they could be something else. But I can see a lot of potential for a weaponized instrument. You're talking about a musical. You're talking about like a musical instrument, right? I think that's what you're trying to say here. The thing is, we kind of already made them, didn't we? They were just musical instruments that could be weaponized into other ways. Is it intended to be a different type of instrument other than a musical instrument? Are we talking about something else? Just a question there. So I don't like. It's not like I don't like that idea. It's just I think we've already made them. Okay. Anakenia. I remember seeing an idea that was a dagger that could cut through wood as easy as butter, but not sure that it's too powerful. Oh, so what you're talking about is a magical weapon that can cut through different types of material, not just wood. I mean, cutting through wood's not a big deal if you ask me. Being able to cut through something else like metal or stone would start to be falling into something else. We would start having to sort of look at things like, what is it? Wasn't the old adamantium sword able to cut through pretty much anything? could cleave through a magical. There was some sort of sword that was sort of able to cut through pretty much anything because it was an adamantium weapon. The titanium sword. The sword is invulnerable to all damage. The titanium. Purposefully avoid adamantium. Yep. The loot of garrots. The strings are excellent for choking unwary victims. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I would probably have to look at things like path through stone or path through wool, because we're looking at stone. There's nothing that sort of allows you to cut through steel or metal or iron or stuff like that. Chained weapon always returns to the user. I see what you're trying to do here. The user and creatures hit by it is pulled adjacent to you. Gains throwing property. Okay, so this is an interesting chained weapon. I like this idea, Shy X. It's playing on that other idea, but it's now pulling the target towards you, right? Planar dagger cuts incorporeal targets. Planar dagger. All right. Okay. So let's see. Pulling you closer. Is that really a big deal? I don't know that it necessarily is. Pulling you closer is really probably not a big deal. But then I need to... So there's a little bit of work required to make that work, to figure that one out, I suspect. So what we'll do is we'll put it here. And I'll think about that in a second. What else we got? Planar dagger. So really you're talking about a dagger that can hurt or damage incorporeal things like ghosts, poltergeists, things that are more spiritual, right? The haunt, they're all sort of incorporeal in nature. The banshee, which is incorporeal as well, all of these. So yeah, okay, all right. So I feel like most magic weapons can harm or injure incorporeal creatures. Do you know what I mean? I think the concept, mechanic-wise, no matter what you're dealing with, is magic weapons always hurt incorporeal creatures, like the banshee, the ghost, poltergeist, the haunt, stuff like that. So I don't know that we need to specify that that's what it does. I think it probably would be unnecessary. Maybe. Anyway, let's see if I can do the chained weapon. That's a tricky one. Let's have a go at that one. I think that's probably the next one to give it a go. Weapon of returning. Paste. Weapon of returning, we could call it a boomerang weapon. A boomerang sword. That might be more fun. No, returning, that's fine. Let's just leave that. Okay, let's see if I can do this chained weapon. That's going to be it's a little bit of mechanics involved there. So I need to be careful how I do this. All right. Chained weapon. So paste. Okay, so let's do that. Any weapon. Okay, so while wielding this weapon, you can throw it up to 30 feet. And when you hit a creature creature, it pulls target adjacent to you. Forget about the throwing property. We don't need to say anything like that. Just forget that. That's just, if you're going to make it a chained weapon, it's a chained weapon. Chained weapon. Pulls. It pulls. Not a big P, it's a small p. Pulls. Okay. While wielding this weapon, you can throw it up to 30 feet, and when you hit a creature, it pulls the target adjacent to you. It's kind of like lightning lure, isn't it? Isn't lightning lure work that way? I'm pretty sure it does. Lightning lure spell 5e. Here we go. Lightning lure. Mechanics, how this works. That's not what I want. Lightning lure. No. Okay, let's just go over to here. I've got this up, so I should be able to find it, shouldn't I? There we go. Lightning lure. It is a cantrip. You create a lash of lightning that strikes one creature of your choice that you can see within 15 feet of you. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pulled up to 10 feet in a straight line towards you. And well, we're not doing extra damage. It's just doing the damage that whatever the weapon does. It pulls them closer. So, do I need to worry about this? I don't think I do. I think that's fine. That is a fairly solid common magic item. That was not bad at all. That worked out quite well. Okay. Going back through my list here of things that we need to sort of try and make. Things that you might come across. War leader. The bearer can use an action. Blah, blah, blah. No. Let's leave that alone. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. Water. Here's another problem that you might come across. Let's do this, because this is a common problem as well that people might come across. If you've got a water-themed campaign, you're on the high seas, you lose your weapon, it drops in the drink, and it's lost forever and sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, I know very much. I feel very much like I've come across this a couple of times in the campaign recently that I was playing. And weapon common. Okay, while wielding this weapon. Okay, so it's not while wielding this weapon. It's this weapon. This weapon floats on the surface of all liquids and doesn't sink. Okay, that could prove to be very, very useful. Okay, cool. And that is common. Now, do I think this is comparable to walk on water? No, I don't. Making a weapon or an item float on water is not comparable to having the ability to walk on water. So I don't think it needs to be in line with that. So we won't worry about that. No, that's not good. Illusion. Don't want to do illusion magic because I always found that creates a whole lot of problems So we will leave it alone. So none of that. Is there anything else that we could do here? I don't know. I think we might be using we might have to make some stuff that is a little bit more powerful now. Back to chat. Let's see what we've got. What ideas have you cooked up? Oh, we've got a few more. Plane equals plane. Powered by planar energy. Jet propelled weapon. Can make attacks at nearby. Hi Jasper, how's it going? Jasper is a patron. Thanks for being here, buddy. Okay, wind blade, a blade made of air, otherwise looks like a bladeless version. Okay, let's take this idea here. We've got that. So we've done that one, we've done this one. We're going to probably do that, which means we need to start looking at things that are, what's the word, a little bit more powerful, maybe just a teensy-weensy more powerful than before. Okay. Just thinking. Yeah, okay, so we can do that. I think that'll be fine. Let's build. We'll build that idea. We'll build the other one that I had listed. There's a couple of ideas I took aside and I just put them at the bottom. We can probably start working on them now and do something with them. See if we can make them a bit more useful. Trident of sucks water or fluid on a successful hit. Dear. Yeah, you're funny. All right, let's see. Let's work on the last couple that you've given me and see if we can't finish those up before we run out of time. So far we have the transforming weapon, which changes either into a melee or ranged weapon. You can change it back and forth. We have the dagger of digging, which basically turns into a shovel. We haven't. Maybe feel like we need to do a bit more of that. Just having it turn into a shovel is not that great. But yeah. Anyway, weapon of warning. Basically, it glows with some light. Not enough to be a torch or a lantern when there is a goblin or an orc within 120 feet. So we've got that. We've got the taser sword, which basically does lightning or electrical damage on a hit rather than slashing damage. We have the illuminating weapon, which basically gives off light to 60 feet, bright, and then just stops. Nice and simple. Another dim light, bright light nonsense. Gleaming weapon, basically it never rusts or gets dirty. They've got the dagger of thieves, which can be used to jam it into a lock and try and pick the lock as if it was lock picking tools. So that would be fun. We have the lock knocker, which is a hammer that you can hit against a lock to try and open it, which is basically the same effect as the one above. The Rosetta weapon, which allows you to understand and speak one language that the dungeon master assigns to the weapon based on its origins. Sniper's crossbow, which doubles the range of your ability to fire it. The singing sword, which when you hit something, it sings a ballad of victory. You can change that to anything you like. Victory. Yeah, no, I'll just leave it at that. If you want to twist it up a bit, you can. The glass sword, which basically makes a sound of breaking glass when you hit something, but if you roll a natural one on your d20 when you make an attack, the sword shatters. The unbreakable weapon, which basically can't be broken or destroyed. We've got the weapon of returning, which returns to your hands a moment later if you throw it, and it returns to you if you kind of lose it or you drop it. The chain weapon, which is basically allows you to pull the creature towards you, make it adjacent to you. The waterborne weapon, so if you drop it in the drink, it doesn't get lost forever and sink to the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. So we've got a few. So we've got yeah, not too bad. Let's work on this other one. I don't think we can make it a common magic item. This will have to be a little bit better than that. but we can do something with this. It's a static bonus. So, okay, common, copy, paste. Weapon, common, there. While wielding this weapon, it warns the wielder, it warns you of danger, granting a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. There we go. And then you had the wind one. Oh, this can't be common. If we're going +1, whether it's initiative, skill check, really, attack roll, damage, it becomes uncommon now for 5e and 2025 or 2024. Shadow Dark, it wouldn't make in the slightest difference because you don't use that as a thing. But you could definitely apply this to Shadow Dark and to most fantasy role-playing games that use initiative. Because quite a lot of them are just derivatives of D&D, so they use initiative, don't they? The Windblade. How do I build that? I'm just trying to think about how I would structure this. I need to think about that a little bit more. I'm not too sure how I would do that. That's quite a lot more difficult than I thought. I didn't really think about that enough, did I? Okay, so what else do we have here that we can mess around with and do something with? There's got to be something else that I can mess with and do something with. So low, let's go down here. The speaking weapon. Right, so you'd mentioned this before. I don't know that I like that idea. We could make some magic weapons that have some detrimental effects. We don't have to make magic weapons that always have a good effect. They could have some bad effects as well. And we haven't really... do I want to do this? Because this is the thing, is I know that you guys are itching, like with ants in your pants, to make cursed magic items. No, I won't, because I'll go down this route and then we'll wind up somewhere which is just going to wind up turning into the last few minutes turning into me making cursed magic items, which I want to just give you a full session of doing that, rather than not. No. Okay, so the gossiping sword, the gossiping axe. I think we're going to go with the gossiping weapon. Let's do that. I like this idea. I just don't know how to do it. Why? Why don't I know how to do it? It looks simple enough, but I'm like, what am I actually trying to do here? I don't really know. As it happens, I have no idea. Okay, let's go up. Gossiping weapon. So let's see here. I think we're going to lean into this a little bit more. Okay, yes, let's do this. Take this. Paste. Weapon any. Don't know about common. Well, can I overlook the fact that it's not really doing anything else? And I mean, it is more of a nuisance than anything, rather than, it's more flavour than, well, no, it still has a feature. Well, no, Fred's probably right. Fred Huber's probably right. I don't need to worry about this. Let's just lean into it. The gossiping weapon. Gossiping sword, gossiping axe, gossiping great axe, gossiping great sword, gossiping mace. Yeah, let's just call it the gossiping. While wielding this weapon, it talks... It constantly talks about everything it sees. While wielding this weapon, it constantly talks about everything you see or hear, including telling bad jokes. Okay. It is, in many respects, a cursed magic item. And I got suckered again. Damn it. I just realized it's a cursed magic item. Oh, okay, stop. We're stopping there. I got suckered again. I knew it was going to happen eventually. I'm like, I've got to be careful because you guys are really sneaky. I'm like, no cursed magic item until I say it's the cursed magic item one. And you always squeeze one in. Oh, no. Fred, you... Good Lord. I got caught. There are so many things that had been slid in there that look so innocent. And I've got to, like, think really hard about it. He got me again. Hello, negative space. Staff that has a bonus attack and damage versus snakes. When swung at a snake, it yells out, bad snake, bad. Oh, come on. No. Here we go. I refrained from cursed items, so there were no detrimental beside, the heavy weapon. Yes, Shy X, yes, but yes. I got suckered. I got suckered again. I knew I was going to get suckered. Yeah, okay. All right. I think we may have come to the end of our how to make really simple, low-level weapons. Yeah, exactly. It's an orc. Is that an orc? Do you think it's seen us saying it loudly? Oh, dear. Oh, no. All right, so I'm going to end this poll. Well, I'll quickly show you what we have made today, again, and then that will be that. Have you made? Ah, dear. Okay, have you made magic weapons for your tabletop role-playing games? Yes, 90%. I expected something like that to be the case. No, 9%, incomplete, 0. Okay, at 11 votes. Right, so these are the things we made today, and of course, you could probably make many, many more things, and you should. Okay, so I will point out the things you shouldn't make, and it's the last one. I managed to dodge the bullet so long. So the transforming weapon basically transforms into a melee or ranged weapon of your choice, okay? Doesn't have a +1, +2, +3. Dagger of digging basically turns into a shovel. Weapon of warning, it glows when goblins and orcs are nearby within 120 feet. We have the taser sword, which basically does lightning or electrical damage rather than slashing damage. We have the illuminating weapon, which glows brightly to 60 feet. We have the gleaming weapon, which doesn't rust or get dirty. We have the dagger of thieves, which you can use to open a lock. You have the lock knocker, which is a hammer that you can use to open a lock as well. Maybe a bit more brutally. The Rosetta weapon, which allows you to understand and speak one language that the Dungeon Master assigns to that weapon. Sniper's crossbow doubles the range of your weapon. Singing sword sings a song of victory when you hit a creature or an object with it. The glass sword, which basically makes a glass breaking sound, but it breaks on a 1 if you roll a natural 1 on a 20-sided dice roll for your attack. The unbreakable weapon, which can't be broken or destroyed. The weapon of returning, which if you throw it or you drop it or you lose it, it returns to you. Okay, the chain weapon, which basically you throw it and it pulls the creature towards you, adjacent to you, so you can get them closer. It got the waterborne weapon, which basically floats on the surface of liquids and doesn't sink. Yeehaw! The guardian weapon, which gives you a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. The gossip weapon, which you should not make because I got snuck in there, and it's definitely not that. It definitely sits in here. This is a cursed magic item. This gossip weapon is definitely a curse magic item. It will cause so much trouble. Anyway, those are the magic weapons. That should just about give you a pretty good idea of how to make a whole lot of low-level magic weapons that you can include into your game that have an effect that is magical and useful without getting too carried away. Okay, so that should solve some of your problems. I will warn you now, it will never solve all your problems. Players will figure out how to do things with the stuff you make that it's magical and bastardize it in many different ways. My group are very good at doing that, as it happens, I've discovered. So have fun with your magic weapons and all the best with that. What am I doing next week? I feel like I need to draw out the cursed magic item to the very last one because I know you're itching to do it. So I don't know. You'll let me know in the comments, or what sort of magic thing do we make? We've made so many different things before. We can keep going for a little bit longer, I'm sure. No, we weren't transitioning. I just got suckered. It does happen. I am not always smart enough to figure out what's going on. Everything is okay. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. Tomorrow I'm playing Shadow Dark, which is basically just Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, and so I'm not going to be the Dungeon Master. AJ Pickett is going to be the Dungeon Master. I'll be playing a character. I'll probably be playing a monk because we made a monk. So for those of you who don't know, I did a book with AJ Pickett, Wally DM, Mitchell Reed, who's Dirt Pickles, and my brother David Bailey. We came up with a supplement for Shadow Dark, which basically has all the classes you would want that aren't included in the core book, and a whole lot of ancestries, which is basically its races and species, okay? And that has been doing pretty well on DriveThruRPG. It is pay what you want, and I should have made sure I had this ready to go so that you could just get to it straight away, but sorry people, clearly not organized enough to make sure that sort of thing happens. It's called the Player's Expansion to Shadow Dark, for Shadow Dark RPG. Expansion for Shadow Dark RPG. God, I hope this comes up. Did I find it? Yes, I did. Here we go. I'll give you a link. Just pay what you want. If you put some money into it, that's nice. If you don't, you don't. Okay. It is not play tested. It is all alpha material. So you will need to test it. We will be testing ourselves tomorrow in the live stream when we're playing Shadow Dark, and AJ is going to run the game. I've provided you with a link to that, so you can go and check it out if you want to. And also too, like, come and hang out and see what AJ can bring to Shadow Dark. He's pretty good at being a game master, so he's worth hanging out with. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. So a huge thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening. I want to thank all of the people who took part in the poll. I do appreciate it. I want to thank all of my patrons who support me on Patreon. But specifically, I want to thank the people in chat who provided some ideas. So Fred Huber, of course, who suckered me today. Negative Space, Shy X, and I believe there was Jasper was here as well. God, I'm going to not get this right. Kenya. God, I don't think I got that right, but sorry if I've butchered it. I butchered the name. Yeah, so thank you for sharing your ideas. Hopefully this was fun and useful to you. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. Of course, I will put this up onto Patreon, as I always do, these magic items, so you can get them from there. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.